Tiger fans, and welcome to another edition of the Hey Corner Crew podcast. Yes, JJ is missing. Today, you get me, Nate, Little Goon Foss, and our wonderful co-host, Dan the Statman Scully.
I'm recording, so if this is bad and Zoe still puts it out, don't blame her.
Yeah, no, it's all on us. Actually, we'll still blame JJ because he's not here to defend himself. He was not able to make it to any of the games this weekend due to some unfortunate circumstances. And then tonight he decided that making money was more important than hockey. But hey, what can you do? So we had 3 games this weekend. 2 of them counted, and it was a rough one. So I guess we'll start with the women, and then we'll move on to the men. So Dan, if you want to get us started.
On Friday afternoon, despite the fact that it says this game started at 6 p.m., the women ended up losing 1-0 to conference opponent Lindenwood. It was a tough goal to give up. The only goal was a power play goal. Rachel Goff dropped the puck off behind the net. Some of you might recognize that name. And one of her teammates brought it back around to the other side and tucked it inside the post while pretty much the entirety of the Tiger defense was looking for the puck on the other side of the net, unfortunately. Not a great game in terms of penalties either. Not going to say we didn't earn some of them, but I don't necessarily agree with the way the game was called. Much like the men's game at Union to start the year, the only penalty called on the opposing team was a matching minor, and to boot, it was at 20 minutes of the third period, so it really didn't matter one way or the other.
Yeah, the officiating was not the greatest we've seen this year. I don't understand how the number one team in terms of penalties in the country doesn't take any penalties at all. There were a few that they missed. And I'll be honest, there were a few that they missed both ways. I think and I hate to blame officiating, but 4 penalties in the second period tires you out, and just having to kill penalties in general is just tiring. And when you have to do it for the majority of a period, and even when some of them were penalties, like it's tough. It was a rough night overall. I don't know.
I will say, you never want to be killing penalties, period. But the penalty that was called on Emma Rowland towards the end of the second, while it probably should have been a matching minor, it fired Emma up and it fired the rest of the team up as a result, it seemed like.
I'm going to say they had 13 shots in the third period. And first 2 periods, not good. They weren't great.
No.
But the third period was definitely much better. There was a little bit of fire under the team in the third period, and especially at the end of the game, there was a little bit of a exchange between the two teams that I like. I don't want to say that we don't see it a lot out of the women, but we don't see it that often. So I kind of like seeing that a little bit. Have some intensity, like have some pride. Like this team, it was Lindenwood's first win of the season, and it was a rough game, frustrating game, I think, for everybody.
Yeah, and it wasn't that Lindenwood played amazing either. Both teams sort of came out of the gate a bit sloppy. And if there had been 3 more minutes on the clock in the third period, or if we had had a puck bounce our way, that game would have been tied.
Mm-hmm. How many posts did we hit in the third period?
There were at least 2.
There was at least 2 or 3 posts that we hit in the third period. So it like I said, I think frustrating was the word. I think frustrating was a good word for the entire weekend.
Yeah.
Um, on both sides, it was opportunities were there, and puck luck sometimes can kill you. I mean, you have to create your own puck luck sometimes, but yeah, rough weekend, rough night Friday. Saturday wasn't much better.
Saturday started out.
Saturday, that was the best period they've played in a while.
Yeah, the Tigers put 19 shots on goal in the first period on Saturday.
It
And
was a,
credit to Lindenwood's goaltender, she stopped them all.
she was
And
phenomenal all weekend.
yeah, and it neither team cracked the game open until we were more than halfway through the third period.
I thought Saturday was a good. It was a good zero. Like so a lot of people are like, oh, I don't like the low scoring games and goals, 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 especially in this era of hockey. But that was a good 0-0 hockey game. Like chances back and forth. Both teams were kind of trading chances. The goaltending was phenomenal. I think goaltending was the story of the series. And credit, I mean, Sarah played phenomenal both nights.
Yeah, she did.
I mean, we didn't even mention it because like it's just a given at this point. Like she's definitely. I think she's starting to take the net back. I think she was kind of losing it there for a little bit, but she's starting to get it back. Um, and I mean the team. I mean, 19 shots in the first period. The tough part was they only had 13 the rest of the game. I don't know if they just used all their energy in the first, and it was a. And again, it was another penalty filled game. Like they kind of made up for some. There were. I mean, we were over 4 Saturday. I mean, you got to capitalize on the power play. I think that's.
Yeah, and I will say the even though the second period wasn't what they were looking to follow the first up with, it was still an even period. It wasn't that Lindenwood was the better team in the second, but
No.
come the third period, it seemed like Lindenwood had fine tuned their adjustments and
Mm-hmm.
they got rolling. Yes, we scored the first goal at 10:53 of the third, but Lindenwood was able to score 6-on-5 with less than a minute left, tie it up.
That one hurt.
And unfortunately, they had a breakaway in overtime, and that was that. The game-winning goal was scored just a minute 20 in.
That tying goal was killer.
Yeah,
That one hurt. Because I thought RIT was a better team all night, and I thought we deserved better. I thought we deserved to win the hockey game. Just sometimes it comes to. It was another fluky goal too. Like it wasn't even. It like rolled off of Sarah's shoulder, and it was not much you can do there. Unfortunately, if you're Sarah, I mean, she stopped the puck. It just bounced weird. Went in, tied the game, and then I mean it was a great shot on the overtime goal. But
it's a
weekend where
great stretch pass to the girl sitting right at the blue line.
It was a great play overall. It's just another weekend where opportunity to win the game was there, and unfortunately they just couldn't capitalize.
And the tough thing about this series is, like we discussed last week, it's as much as we don't like to say it, this is probably the battle for the last playoff spot. And it's on the women's side, it's not like Atlantic hockey. We didn't earn any points by taking them to overtime on Saturday. So that sort of puts the Tigers on the back foot, especially because taking points from Lindenwood at Lindenwood is going to be far more difficult, having to make that trip all the way to St. Louis.
Yeah, and not only that, if you win both those games, you have to win them both in regulation. You can't take them to overtime because the first tiebreaker is head to head. The second one, I believe, is regulation. head to head. So I guess I don't know what the second tiebreaker is. I know the first one's head to head. I'm hoping it's regulation because then if you take both in regulation, bang, you have the tiebreaker. But you put yourself in a position where you need to win 3 more games now to in conference. And no, I'm not saying they can't. I'm not saying they can't do it. I'm not saying they can't do it, but they've said it. You don't want to be chasing, and now they're chasing. You'd rather be ahead, like not having to chase the team in front of you. Now you have to win more games than they do, in a sense.
And we're talking like Lindenwood's not going to win another conference game, and it's not to say that they will, but anything can happen. We've seen it on both sides, men's and women's. So, but that also means that the Tigers could take some games here too and shut us up, basically.
I think the story of our podcast this year has been prove us wrong.
Yeah.
And if they do, I'm going to give them all the props in the world. I mean, I will say this: we're still behind them 100%. We're not saying they're out of it, but the road becomes a little bit more difficult. Yeah. So, all right. Well, unfortunately, there really just wasn't much with how low scoring of a series it was and the tough results. So, I mean, I guess if we want to move on to, and they don't play next week,
right? So, the ladies get the week of American Thanksgiving off, which is ironic because most of the team's Canadian.
The better Thanksgiving. Just saying. So yeah, I mean, I guess we can move on and look ahead or look around the conference and go from there.
So I believe we recorded Sunday last week.
We did.
So we talked about how Penn State took the first game against Brown 3-0 on a Sunday in a Sunday-Monday series. They finished the sweep 4-2 at 2 p.m. on Monday afternoon.
Brutal.
Then the normal games for the week started on Friday. Syracuse and Mercyhurst were scheduled to play each other this weekend.
But if you didn't hear, it snowed.
A lot. Like, Orchard Park got more than Syracuse got all last year. Just to put it in perspective. So that series has been postponed. Last I knew, the conference hasn't figured out when they're going to reschedule those games to.
They'll probably be. I mean, it's
Tuesday,
nice
Wednesday series.
Well, no, it's nice that it's not Lindenwood, where it's a little bit harder to reschedule.
True.
Because Erie and Syracuse are 4 hours apart, so 4 maybe.
Yeah, roughly
3 from
4.
here. Yeah, 4. So it's not the hardest thing to reschedule. Sure, you might have to make them play midweek, like maybe.
Like when Sacred Heart's men's team had to play us on a pair of Tuesdays last year.
And one of them was here.
And the other one was
and
at
it was
West
supposed
Point.
to be there. That was a mess. Thank God they're getting their own rink. Oh, man.
So that was the only other conference series that was supposed to happen last week. Penn State also played a pair at Yale. They lost Friday 3-0 and 2-1 on Saturday in overtime.
Not surprising that Yale is the number 5 team in the country too. So that
and
that's not. I don't want to say it's surprising, but I'm not shocked.
And with one of the conference series postponed, Lindenwood ends up being the only team to earn CHA points this week. And
yep,
I'm sure in part because they were the only CHA team to win this week. They swept the weekly awards.
Yeah. I think you could have made an argument for if we had taken the Saturday game to be goalie of the week.
Yeah.
But how do you deny the one that only let in one goal and won 2 games?
And stopped 19 shots in one period.
Right. Yeah. You can't deny the goalies. Yeah.
This week's schedule is a little strange, but some of that's got to do with the holiday, I think. Or maybe not, because we like scheduling weird series in this conference. St. Lawrence heads out to Erie, and they should actually be able to get there this time, I think. Though St. Lawrence did have their series postponed last weekend too, thanks to the Lake Effect ban that was hitting Watertown. They head to Erie to play Mercyhurst Tuesday at 6. So, depending on when this gets edited and put out, that might already be done because we're recording Monday night. And Wednesday, they'll finish that series at 2. Then on Friday, Post will head to Syracuse for a 3 o'clock game.
To get smoked.
Probably, yeah. I would be kind of afraid and happy if Syracuse was gonna crumble to them, because it would mean that we've got every chance to sweep them in January. But
just to let you know, Post is 1-10, and their one win was against St. Michael's.
Actually, none of the
who is
series...
also 1-10. Sorry, I was just looking at it.
Actually, all of these series are non-conference series this week.
Makes sense. Holidays, they don't usually
Well,
play
on
conference.
I guess. I think sometimes Atlantic Hockey does, but
And
we haven't had it recently.
No.
St. Cloud State heads to Lindenwood for a 7 p.m. start Central Time. And Penn State will head out to Las Vegas for the Vegas Showcase. They get to play Minnesota at 4 p.m. on Friday. Jeez. I don't think that's going to go well. Penn State
and then
is strong, but they're not that strong.
You don't even have to know a ton about women's college hockey to know that Minnesota is one of the top programs in the country.
Minnesota's called the hockey state for a reason.
Yeah, we can debate that all day,
but Penn State will finish up the Vegas Showcase at a time TBA, I'm assuming determined by whether they win or lose on Friday.
Probably.
And they will play either the winner or the loser. That is how that works, Dan.
Probably the loser.
Probably, but I didn't want to speculate.
No, because anything can happen in college, especially going all the way out to Vegas. Like, that's not an easy trip for anybody.
Not even for Minnesota, and they're the closest by far. Penn State will play either BU or Yale to finish the Vegas Showcase. Post will finish their series at Syracuse at 2 p.m. on Saturday. And St. Cloud State finishes their series with Lindenwood at 2:10 Central on Saturday. And I'm kind of upset that I have to leave as early as I do from home to make our men's games this weekend, because I wouldn't mind going and seeing Syracuse pummel Post. And I'm allowed to root
but then I saw
I'm allowed to root for Syracuse in non-conference games. These two can't yell at me for that.
I guess. So yeah, good weekend for the conference coming up too. I think. I don't think Lindenwood pulling one out against St. Cloud is out of the question with how they played this weekend.
No,
They get their
if they can
goaltending.
lock down on the defense, they've got a decent shot.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'd love to see Penn State make some noise in that tournament. It'd be really cool to. Be nice to see. Maybe the conference go up against one of the blue bloods of college hockey on the women's side and on the men's side too, but on the women's side, in this case, to like. Plus, that's a Big Ten rivalry game if you think about it. I know there's no Big Ten in women's hockey, but
yeah,
that has some spark in there. So
there's also a chance that they could play Yale again after just playing them last weekend.
And it's not like they got outplayed either in either of those two games. Like, yeah, the first one was 3-0, but it looked like it wasn't that bad. And then a 2-1 overtime loss. That's not horrible. I mean, that's a good result against a good team. So yeah, we'll see. All right, so let's move on to the men's team, who had a game that thankfully did not count. It was an exhibition game against the United States under-18 national team, who I will say were hyped up, and I understood it when they got there because those kids are good.
What stood out most to me was they're fast. Very fast.
You know what stood out to me on the other side is that we were throwing them around like crazy.
Yes, you've got guys in their early to
mid-20s
playing against 17-year-olds. Of course they're going to be throwing them around.
I was standing there looking at them they're lined up for the anthem, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, there really is a noticeable size difference between the two. It was interesting. We haven't played these guys in over a decade, so it was kind of cool. I will say Gabe Perreault and Will Smith, who are probably going to be first round picks in the NHL draft next year. Yeah, they're that good.
Yeah,
they took
the
that
second
game over.
goal that they connected on was just insane.
The one late in the second. Oh,
yep, the one that went back and forth about the two of them about 6 times.
I don't even remember who it was, but Smith just dangled whoever it was. I think it was Aiden Hansen-Bukata out of his skates, and then just found Perreault backdoor. Nothing that Daniel Chenard could do. And hey, he came in, and I thought he played pretty well.
Yeah.
For a kid who hasn't played in any games in his RIT career up until this one.
Not even an exhibition.
Nope. Sure, he gave up 3 goals, but I mean, what are you going to do on that second one that he gave up? I mean, and the first one he gave up was a laser.
Yeah.
So, Kobe Walker probably scored my favorite goal of the year, though, so far.
If you're a goaltender.
10 the goal. If you weren't there, which we had a pretty good crowd. I was actually impressed at how many people showed up for a game right before the holiday that didn't count. Yeah, Trey Augustine, who's committed to play for Jared DeMichael at Michigan State, by the way, had a hiccup. He went behind the net to play the puck and didn't realize Kobe Walker was flying. And when I say flying, he was flying up behind him. Just picked his pocket and put it in the net, and it happens. I mean, that's a mistake that a young goaltender is gonna make, and he'll learn. That's not a knock on Trey. He's gonna have a great college career when he gets to Michigan State next year. He's gonna be one of the top goaltenders in the country. I can already tell because he was solid. We got some guys that can shoot on this team, and after that goal, he settled in and was phenomenal the rest of the night. I mean, RIT put up 24 shots. He made 23 saves.
none of the shots that that he faced in a normal goaltending position went in the net.
Right. Right. So,
And you know what other great goalie went to Michigan State?
oh, Ryan Miller. So, Michigan State's got a history of good goaltenders. And they got a great goaltending coach right now in Jared DeMichael.
Yeah,
So,
they do.
I, it'll be fun to, it's going to be fun to watch these guys, kind of follow their careers now that we've seen them play. Like, all those kids are, except for one, was committed to some of the top schools in the country, next
I
year. And
think
I
there were
think,
6 of them committed to BC, including their entire first forward line.
right. So that's going to be wild to watch them all at BC next year.
Yeah.
We did, we did a chant. My favorite was, that's all right. That's okay. You should play for us one day. If any of you guys want to come play for RAT, please, by all means, we'll take you with open arms.
You see what kind of
Um,
atmosphere you get.
and they were playing at Niagara Friday night, and
That was a much
I
higher
saw it.
scoring game.
Yes, that was 8-5. If you missed that, we'll go over that in the recap in a minute. But um, it was just, and I think you could kind of see it. They were kind of looking up into the corner before the start of the game, and
Yeah, they were. I
they
was
probably
down
had the
there.
reaction. They were like, "Oh, this is kind of fun. This is way better than last night," because nobody goes to Niagara games anyway. Um, Even on a weekend where they didn't play a game that count, I will still find a chance to trash Niagara. Um,
Uh, oh, that was who. That was who. St. Lawrence. I was thinking of the men's team. They were supposed to go play Niagara. That game
mm-hmm.
got postponed.
Probably more because St. Lawrence couldn't get out of Canton
Oh
more
yeah.
than
Oh yeah. There
Niagara
was.
was getting
I
snow.
wouldn't be surprised if 81 was shut down in the North Country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that it was nice to see some guys get some time too. Like a lot of guys that haven't played a lot this year, like Calvin Boots and Adam Jeffrey, get in because in exhibition you can play anybody you want, and the only two guys that were out were Caleb Moritz, who saw with an injury, and Elijah Gonzalez, who Wayne said tweaked something. They just wanted to be safe with it and hold him out. So,
And no harm in doing that in an exhibition game.
right.
Not that we'd want to risk Elijah's health anyway, but
Right. Um, and as far as I know, everybody came out of the game healthy, so that's good. Um, so yeah, not much to talk about because it didn't really count. I mean, power play went 0 for 5, but hey, it didn't hurt our power play percentage because it didn't count. So,
also if anyone's wondering, which no one is, but a little inside baseball, the reason that you don't get a normal box score on the website for this, you just get a PDF, is because if we upload it the way we normally upload them, it would it would tally it as part of our stats. So that's why you've got the weird PDF showing up on the website.
I was gonna say it wouldn't let me pull up the normal, but that works. Makes sense. Okay, so now let's look around Atlantic hockey. Couple good games this past weekend, couple good games coming up this weekend. So take it away, Dan.
So, being that we recorded on Sunday last week, the first game we have to talk about is a Tuesday game between AIC and Holy Cross. AIC was hosting this game, which is probably why it was on a Tuesday. Yellow Jackets beat the Crusaders 4-1. Um, I want to give a little tidbit about this. The attendance for that game, it was a Tuesday, but it was 7 o'clock at night, normal time for a hockey game on a Tuesday. Attendance was 193. In the same building, the Springfield Thunderbirds played a Wednesday morning game against the Syracuse Crunch. 10:30 puck drop. And got nearly 6,800 fans.
Oh my god. It's sad. It's so sad. Like the AIC's won 3 straight conference championships and nobody cares. It's sad. I don't know, man.
Anyway, we're done ripping AIC for
No,
the
yeah, for
moment.
about 5 minutes.
On Thursday, Sacred Heart hosted Merrimack in a non-conference game, getting shut out 3-0 because Atlantic hockey can't make Nate happy and at least win non-conference games.
Even though Flo decided to say during the game that it was 3-0 Sacred Heart. Yeah, they were adding the goals to the Sacred Heart side on Flo instead of the Merrimack side. So that was fun and very confusing because I didn't watch the game, but I caught glimpses of it. I would pull it. I was doing something, but I pulled it up every once in a while and just to check the score. And I was like, oh, I thought they were losing because according to Discord, they're losing. But crazy, man. Gotta love Flo.
On Friday, Holy Cross took their second loss of the week, hosting Mercyhurst for a 3-1 final. Army, who has not been great this year, was able to claim a win against Bentley, 2-0 down at West Point. As we mentioned earlier, Niagara hosted the U.S. National Team Development Program Under 18 team, being that Nate didn't say the full name earlier.
I didn't need to.
No, you didn't, but it's a mouthful. I
Yeah,
had to.
it
And I
is.
actually got through it this time, unlike last week.
We're
um,
doing better with the English this week.
anyway, Niagara won that game 8-5, like we mentioned.
Which was shocking. I don't think any of us saw that coming at all.
No, but it's worth mentioning that 2 of those goals were empty netters, so
Fair. I just want to say something quick. I've been hesitant to say it all year. I think I'm actually going to finally admit it. Niagara might be good. I
which
think
means
we have to.
Omaha might not be terrible.
Yeah, Omaha might not be terrible. So I know, burn me at the stake for saying it, but Niagara might be good. They might be a threat in Atlantic hockey. So we'll have to keep an eye on them.
On Saturday, AIC started one of their famous Saturday Sunday series, hosting Air Force. That ended in a 3-3 tie with AIC winning the shootout 1-0. Holy Cross took their third loss of the week. Mercyhurst finished the sweep 4-1. We've already discussed the game that thankfully didn't count that we lost 4-1. As I mentioned in what looked like a eureka moment earlier, Niagara was scheduled to host St. Lawrence on Saturday. That game got canceled thanks to the intense lake effect in the North Country. Army finished the sweep of Bentley on Saturday, 5-2. And the lone Sunday game was the end of the Air Force AIC series. The Yellow Jackets took that game 3-1.
It was a big standing shift weekend in Atlantic hockey too.
Except at the
Not
top.
necessarily up at the top, but at the bottom, things got a little shifted. Mercyhurst vaulted from 9th to 6th this weekend, which is kind of crazy. That shows you what the whole 6-point system, the 3-point system does to standings, where you can really make some noise, which thankfully some teams are starting to catch up to us in games played. So the fact that we're still number one is good.
Just like the CHA schedule, the schedule for this week in Atlantic hockey is a little weird. There's a pair of Tuesday games. Holy Cross finishes up what must be a home and home series. Nope, they don't. I can't read. I can't English and I can't read. Holy Cross hosts Merrimack for the continuation of nothing. Um, that's a 4 p.m. game on Tuesday, which, again, probably will already be done by the time you guys see this. Sacred Heart heads down to Ithaca, New York to play Cornell at 7 p.m. Both those games are on ESPN Plus. If I don't know why I'm saying that, like I just said, they'll probably be done by the time you see this. But you can go back and watch the replay, I guess.
Who
Then
knows? This might be out before then. I don't know.
it depends on how quick Zoe is editing. She's probably pretty quick at it.
Pretty quick, so this one should be relatively easy.
Then on Black Friday, the conference slate starts early with Army playing a 1 p.m. game at Canisius.
That's because there's a Sabres game that night.
Who do they play that night? This isn't a Sabres podcast. Why am I asking?
They're going to end the New Jersey Devils win streak and end their own losing streak in the same night. I hope. That'd be fun.
Holy Cross heads to Rhode Island to take on Brown at 2 on Friday. Niagara will host Colgate at 3:30. Sacred Heart will host Bentley at 4. The Tigers will host the Tigers at 7.
The better Tigers will host the not better Tigers.
And I probably just totally ruined Nate's intro for the series. Whoops.
No. Nope.
And also a 7:05 game, Mercyhurst will host Air Force.
After digging themselves out.
I don't think they got quite as much in Erie.
Still got a good amount. Enough to cancel hockey games.
I think that was more trying to travel down I-90 to Erie.
Probably.
Canisius will finish the series with Army with another 1 p.m. game. Are there 2 Sabres games at home this weekend?
I don't think Saturday. So they're just deciding to play at 1 on Saturday for no reason at all.
Sacred Heart finishes the series with Bentley at 1 p.m. Saturday. AIC starts... Well, it's not a series this time, but they're playing a game on Saturday with no game Friday. They will go to Maine for a 2 p.m. start on Saturday. Colgate finishes the series at Niagara with another 3:30 game. Air Force and Mercyhurst finish up with a 4:05 start. It's Tigers versus Tigers again in Rochester with a 5:05 start. And Holy Cross will go back home to Worcester and play New Hampshire on Saturday night at 7.
Fun weekend around Atlantic hockey. A lot of games this weekend, which is kind of nice.
That's what happens with a non-conference heavy schedule.
Mm-hmm. Lots of games. A couple games that matter too, standings wise. So Sacred Heart and Bentley is big for us. Go Bentley. That would be really great. Be much appreciated. Yeah. All right. So that's a look around Atlantic hockey. And now
the moment you've all been waiting for.
A fun series this weekend between are they Princeton University or University of Princeton. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's Princeton University.
Between the Princeton University not as good Tigers versus the 20th ranked in the USCHO poll RIT Tigers. Let's go. Discord went nuts earlier. If you missed it, the USCHO coaches poll came out this week, and somehow, some way, without playing a game that mattered, they finally decided to show us some respect. And we are now the 20th ranked team in the country. It's a good day to be a Tiger. It's a great day.
I broke out my favorite West Wing gift. Gift?
Yes,
I can't. I really can't. It's so good that it's gonna be Thanksgiving break.
I'm gonna get you a dictionary for Christmas.
You might better just beat me over the head with it.
You know what my favorite part about this one is that North Dakota, who likes to complain about Atlantic hockey getting teams into the tournament every year, is below us. So that's a big you know what to them.
Kodak is better than Nodak.
I liked that one. That one was good. Was that you?
Yes, that was me.
It was you? Okay, good. Yeah. So Battle of the Tigers, the Matt Kellenberger Revenge Tour. God, I want him to score this weekend so bad. Princeton is in the Ivy League, and that's why they've only played 7 games, because the Ivy League doesn't believe in October hockey.
Which means they're wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's just not right. They're 2-5. They've had a tough schedule to start. I mean, they played Harvard first game of the year. Cornell and Colgate are decent teams.
Quinnipiac's really good.
Quinnipiac's really good. It's who they just played last weekend. So, I don't want to take them lightly. I mean, and I look at it this way. It's RAT, and I hate saying the P word this early in the year, but in the pairwise, RAT's 17th, and they were talking about this on the post-game show on Saturday a little bit. Being at 17 is this late into the year is good, but now it means your non-conference games matter more, and you can't afford to lose them. So I know we kind of say, oh, win your conference games, it's all that matters. I think the men have put themselves in a position where if you win all your non-conference games and you keep going in conference, you have a chance at getting into the tournament without needing to win Atlantic hockey or not being the bottom seed. And I know I don't want to look into March too far, but it's something to think about going into this weekend. I mean, these games really do matter now. So they're fun stat. They take a lot of penalties, and for the team that has the second highest power play percentage in the country, that's like the RIT should be chomping at the bit to draw a penalty and get on the power play.
There might be a lot of caged tigers this weekend.
How many tigers? Like, it's so hard. Like, we can't do half of our cheers. Like, it's kind of rough. We've been scrambling this week to try to figure out what we can do. It should be a fun weekend. Back to games that count, back to games that matter. I think the game against the US team could be kind of a wake up call for us. Like, hey, you're good, but I mean, I'd put the development program team in the same category as some of the top teams in college hockey, based on speed and skill. And so it kind of shows you, hey, yeah, you can compete with Atlantic hockey teams, but can you compete against other teams around the country? And I think they showed that. So it'll be a fun weekend. I'm kind of excited. we don't get to play Princeton. We've only played them twice before, and we won both of them last year. So in two very different games, one was 6-5 and one was 1-0. So Tommy Scarfoni's first collegiate win and first collegiate shutout game against Princeton 2 last year. So that was. I'm pulling up stats here because I did not make notes for this week.
Did one of those games go to overtime last year?
I think the 6-5 game went to overtime. I don't remember.
Yeah. No. Well, one of them did go to overtime. It was the 1-0 game.
Was it the 1-0 game? Jeez. Oof.
Yep. Jake Hamaker, 35 seconds into overtime on the power play.
I knew Hammy scored the overtime winner. Just I couldn't remember what game it was.
Yeah, we carried a minute of power play time over into the overtime.
Beautiful. Brendan Gorman, 3 goals, 1 assist for 4 points. He leads their team in scoring. Ethan Pearson we'll probably see both of their goaltenders. They have 2 goalies on the roster. We'll probably see both, being it is non-conference. Just like we'll probably see Scarfoni and Matthews. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if Wayne tried to give Shenard another shot. I guess we'll see what Wayne decides. I'm sure Tommy gets at least one game just to keep him in shape. You don't want to give your goaltender 2 weeks off, as he did not play this weekend. Ethan Pearson has their only 2 wins. He's got a 9.30 save percentage and 1.8 goals against. So, I mean, he's stopping pucks. So, I think if we can capitalize on special teams in the power play, and they've been doing better with the penalties, kind of. Dan, how many games has it been since we've taken a major?
More than I'm able to count, I think. Take that however you want.
How'd you get into RIT?
It's not how did I get into RIT, it's how did I last this long.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can go game by game. We might have taken one in the second game or the first game against Sacred Heart. Yeah, we did, because that was the double.
That was the double. So it's been 1.
One that counted, 2 overall.
One that counted, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it should be. Oh, that's why his stats are so low. Both of those games that he won were shutouts. That's why. Okay. It's like, wow, this kid's really good. That's why. This team Princeton is located in Princeton, New Jersey, and we know nothing good comes from New Jersey. So we'll go to predictions and we'll wrap it up here.
I don't know why the thought just came to my head, but pretty sure Albert Einstein died in Princeton, New Jersey.
See, this is important information because that's like whiteboard material.
It was definitely in New Jersey. It's just a matter of where in New Jersey.
I need to know this.
Yes, he died in Princeton, New Jersey.
Yes! We're totally using that this weekend.
Dan unwillingly writes a whiteboard.
That is beautiful. I'm going to put that. I'll let you do the honors of putting that in Discord when we're done here. All right. So predictions. I actually do have JJ's. He sent me one word. Actually, no, he sent me the emoji. He sent me the broom emoji. So JJ goes with a sweep. I'm going to agree with him.
He knows we're not curling, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I cannot resist making a curling joke.
I'm gonna agree with him. I don't think Princeton has the offensive firepower to keep up with us. And I think if they get into penalty trouble, it's night because our power play is really good.
I mean, I agree with both of you. I think the only way that Princeton could steal a game from us, I still can't speak, is if their defense and their goaltending can lock us down, but that's going to be real difficult to do.
Yeah. Princeton is at 77% penalty kill. They're 48th out of 62 in the country. So capitalize on the power play. That's the story of the weekend. So.
Yep.
All right. Well, unless you have anything else to add, I guess we'll wrap it up.
I think that's all I've got.
All right. Well, if you're not following us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that fun stuff, please do it. I don't know why you're not if you're listening to this.
Yeah, where did you
Hit the
find
like.
us?
Yeah, right. How did you find us? Hit like and subscribe on this video. Leave a comment. We do read them. Usually they're all making fun of me, and I'm sure there will be lots of them for this one.
There might be some making fun of me for a change.
Yeah. Please chirp JJ as much as you want. He doesn't even know we're saying all this, and it's great. I actually wanted him to open up his camera and like have like his mom or something open up the video with just the cutout of him on the screen. It didn't happen. Couldn't make it work. Yeah. Follow us on Spotify, turn on notifications so you know that everything gets dropped. If you're traveling and you're listening to this, please drive safe for the holiday. Come back early. Hockey games this weekend.
Or just drive back and forth like I'm going to, because
you're
apparently
nuts.
I like to burn gas.
Speaking of burning gas, shout out to Dom. He has not missed a single home game this year, men or women. He's probably going bankrupt. I love it. Hey,
And
we're winning hockey.
he's also made at least 3 away games.
Yeah. I told him, oh, and if you're in the Discord, if you're not in the Discord, join Discord. If you are in the Discord, make sure to check the thread for Mobile Corner Crew. We are trying to get a head count for how many people want to go on Mega Trip, as JJ likes to call it.
I can't anymore.
Remember what I said? I'm kidnapping you.
No, JJ said that.
We're both kidnapping you. If one of us fails, the other one will be there to help.
As long as you guys find someone to do book for Steve, if you're really gonna kidnap me.
No. Well, hockey's way more important. Anyway, yeah, go scroll all the way up to the top, the message, and react to the message if you're going to both Mercyhurst and Canisius for the women and the men. If you're going to just Erie for the women, I don't know why, because you have to drive through Buffalo to get home. So you should go to the men's game too. All that fun stuff. We're getting ready, gearing up for that trip. We've been looking forward to that one for a while. So it's kind of nice. It's right around the corner. Have a happy Thanksgiving and roll tag.
Tigers, but the ones from RIT, not Princeton.
Yes, go RIT.
RIT, 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 RIT.